Okay, welcome to a little bonus feature. Before I get into Michy's third chapter, part three, as he calls it, I'm going to do a sort of a part 2A. And he does it actually at the end of chapter 2 as well. Um, we're going to look at counting bad rolls. It comes up over the next few chapters. It's just easier to take it as a separate entity rather than kind of dealing with it as part of chapter 3. So if you remember, if you've been going through the videos, closeout, it's very straightforward. We just have to bring it home safely. We're 98% likely to win. The ace point game, much lower winning chances, but I suppose our objectives very clearly are to minimize long-term damage and not worry about immediate safety. But now we're on to a new feature. Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 will look at higher point games, the deuce point and the 3 point. And in this instance, short-term safety becomes the priority. And in particular, there's one feature of these games that it'd be helpful for you to know before we kind of launch into those chapters. And it's this: we need to be able to know how many rolls are going to leave a shot the next term. How many bad rolls can we roll that will leave our opponent a shot? So um, there's no other way than doing it. We look at the outcome the way we've left it, and we literally count it. And Michy talks about counting up from 1-1 to 1-2 to 1-3 and so on. Um, I can't. I think it was easy. It might have been Dan Rivera. One of the commentator talks about counting down. Now they all say, Michy said it as well. It doesn't matter which order you do it, as long as you have a consistent order. I like to count down because Michy mentions it in his book. He says, that the lower numbers tend to be unproblematic. It's the big numbers that really matter. So let's address them first. So you have to go, well, does a 6-6 next go leave a problem? Does a 6-5? Does a 6-4? Does a 6-3? 6-2? 6-1? Then you go on to 5-5, 5-4, 5-3, 5-2, 5-1, 4-4, 4-3, and so on. And you kind of work down through different combinations. And Michy gave a little tip that I like, and I just thought I'd include here. And I've seen Mark Olson also makes exactly the same tip, and I think it's a good one. He says he uses his hands to help him count, which is, I suppose, counting our fingers. We've been doing it since we were kids. But he says on his right hand, and I've decided my fingers don't make, I'm never going to use my fingers as fashion models. They're my fingers here. But on his right hand, he counts the number of combination rolls that will leave a problem, like a 6-4 or a 5-4 in that instance there. And he counts those in his right hands. And don't forget, the chances of rolling a 6-5, you have 2 rolls out of 36 that can cause that problem. And then on the left hand, he counts the doublets that will cause problems. So does a 6-6 cause problems? Does a 5-5 cause problems? And so on. And in this instance, there are 3 doublets that cause problems. And then he puts the hands together. And if you look at it, looking at the right hand side there, looking at the board, if you can see the board there, a 6-4 is going to leave would leave a shot next go, and a 5-4 will leave a shot next go. So we have 2 combination rolls. There's 2 chances of rolling a 6-4, 2 chances of rolling a 5-4. So there's 4 chances already. And then on the left hand side, double 6s will leave a shot, double 5s will leave a shot, double 4s will leave a shot. So there are 3 possible doublets. Now you can only roll a doublet once, so there's only one way you can roll a 6-6 out of 36 rolls. So we've got 4 on our right hand, 2 2s, and we've got 3 1s in our left hand. 4 plus 3 is 7. So there are 7 rolls out of 36 are going to leave a shot if the position is left like this. And that's how you just count the rolls and you compare possibilities. So when you're bearing off against a 3-point board or a deuce point board, or even further up, you're just looking at, well, look, how many opportunities am I leaving my opponent? And interestingly, from Michy's point of view, he says, look, sometimes you leave, a potentially worse situation because long term there are other priorities at play. And this is what, when you get to the chapter about the deuce point game and get to the chapter about the 3-point game, there are specific proverbs and kind of things for you to bear in mind. But he has an overall sort of a rule that I think is important. He said, generally, if you find that one play has 4 fewer bad numbers than another, you should choose that first play. And the corollary of that is that if the difference in bad numbers is less than 4, it's not crucial, and other factors will take a major role. So I said, when we look in the videos to come about the deuce point and the 3 point, we look at other factors, and you might say, well, I'm going to take a little hit, just a couple of more dangerous rolls in the immediate future, but long term it may avoid problems. And so I know I said at the start that the focus is on short term safety, but there's a balancing act to be had, and that's why I just thought we'd look at counting numbers now before we get into the deuce point game. There's lots of different proverbs at play and lots of different principles at play, and so I just thought if we can get the counting numbers out of the way first, it'll make things easier. So if the difference in bad numbers is less than 4, you might choose the more risky play. If the difference in numbers is 4 or more, you've got to go with the safer play. It's just it's not an acceptable risk. And then one other factor that I've kind of noticed, kind of reading through this, that it's worth identifying, that if you take the distance between our opponent's anchor and the rearmost checker, it's likely to be the most problematic number. That's not a good example there. I went online and looked for a nice, pretty picture of backgammon checkers, but the picture on the slide there is irrelevant here. But I'm going to give you an example here. If we go back to the one that we had there, the example here, our rearmost checker is on the 6 point. Opponent's anchors on the 2 point. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4s are likely to be the problem roll. And if you think about it there, it was 6-4 and 5-4 that caused us problems. So it's just a little thing to watch out for. It's not important. I'll give a few more examples. If we move it, even moving it in. So now it's the 5 point is where we have our rearmost checker. The 2 point is where the anchor is. So 3s are going to be a problem. And if you look at it there, double 3s are going to leave a shot. Or worse, we could have a different situation. If we didn't have that checker on the 3 point, just had that, now a 5-3 leads a problem. So we've got, instead of leaving one shot with the double 3s, we're leaving 2 shots with a 5-3. So usually, I said, it's the distance between the rearmost checker and the anchor that is going to be the number, gives you the number that's going to be most problematic. And even, here's another situation here where if you look at, we are, this often happens when you're bearing it against an ace point. We have a rearmost checker on the 6 point, anchors in the 1, 6 minus 1 is 5. So rolling 5s is a problem there. And indeed, a 6-5 is a problem. 5-5s are a problem. 4-5s are a problem. So they're just the numbers to watch out for as we go. Just one other term I need to add here. Michy uses a phrase, zero position. It's just a phrase that you can learn for future videos. Zero position is, if we have a zero position, it just means there's no bad rolls can occur in the next roll. So we're perfectly safe. So here's an example of one where there's some things we could do that wouldn't be ideal, but if you count down from 6-6, 6-5, 6-4, 6-3, and so on, no matter what we roll, we're not going to leave a shot after any of our rolls. So Michy, again, just a phrase handy to have is zero position. So finally, so this is a very much shorter video, just to get you the idea of counting bad rolls. You do need to be able to do this because that's where the next 2 chapters just assume you're doing this in between all the other principles that they're bringing into play. But let's take Michy's mountain structure from the ace point game, where you see that's the ideal structure, and it is the ideal structure, but it still leaves some shots. So my question is, I have 2 questions for you if you want to pause this. Question 1 is, what number is likely to cause us most problems? And 2, how many shots does that do we leave, or how many bad rolls do we have in the next go that would leave shots? So if you want to pause the video, and assuming you've unpaused it, well, if you look at it, we're rearmost checkers on the 6 point, the anchors on the 1 point. 6 minus 1 is 5, so 5s are problematic. And if you count down through all the different numbers, 6-6 is a problem. 5-5 actually isn't a problem because they'll just bear off 3 checkers. But 6-5 is a definite problem. And you can count down 6-4, 6-3, 6-2, and so on. You'll find there's no other problem. So you have 6-6 is a problem, and 6-5 is a problem, and there's 2 of them. So 6-6, it gives you 1 finger on your left hand. 6-5 gives you 1 finger on your right hand. Don't forget the ones in the right hand are worth double, so it's 1 point for the left hand, 2 points for the right hand. You leave 3 shots, even with Michy's ideal structure on the 2 point. So Short video this was, just to get you prepared. We'll be coming back with a video soon about the Deuce Point game, but I just wanted to kind of shot counting, not even, it's not, sorry, not shot counting, but counting bad rolls. If you can just have that in your understanding before we take the next video, I can then focus in the next video on, which will be about the Deuce Point game, about the various principles that Michy brings into bear in that Deuce Point game. So, thank you and good luck.